Could have been Jared Whitney or Jared Hutchins.
Welcome everybody to the May 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Castle Plan Action Team. We are here on our first day of summer by the weather. So excited to see you all. You should have an agenda in front of you, or we can pass it down if you don't have one. We are joined by a couple of guests today who will chime in at a couple different points in our agenda, and we'll introduce them at appropriate points in the agenda. But we are calling to order officially at, I think at 6:03 p.m. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing no hands raised, we're gonna move on. So first item on our agenda today is to debrief from Earth Day 2024, Earth Day celebration, and our lessons learned, things that we want to discuss to remember if we would like to organize this event again in the future. Speaking for myself, I think it went extremely well, and would love to see this be an annual event that we continue to organize. The feedback's been really positive on the programming that we had, the attendance. I think the variety and quality of the vendors that we had there, conversations people could have. So I'm so thrilled with how it went, but I'm eager to hear from all of you, and we are joined by Jennifer, who helped to organize the event. The event was a really pivotal part, so thank you so much, Jenny, for Jenny Surgeon for just pitching and being a great event. So I will open the floor and welcome, our guests to also chime in with their thoughts on lessons learned and any, positives, negative things we think we could do better next time.
But it was pretty darn good for a first run. I mean, I've done a lot of oddball events like that before, and the first one is always tough because people it's not on their calendar, so it's always tough the first time. And yeah, given our amount of advertising, it's pretty well attended. I think one thing we need is some sort of food next year. People are very interested, and we could probably tag team it with either a food truck or bring some farmers market, local people selling whatever, and snacks are needed. Never a bad idea.
And the speakers room. Draw people into the speakers room with food there.
Yeah.
That's where the kitchen is. But, yeah, I thought it went pretty well. I was a little disappointed with the attendance at the speakers. The ones that saw pictures of, I knew everybody there. So it was like.
You're Mr. Popular, so don't get too mad.
There weren't too many people who left for it. And I had contact with there. Other than that, it was good. Having the locking there was quite a draw. Jen was there drawing kids in after their
So that's
swimming practice.
like, yes, you can go.
And I didn't get a report from the library, but that worked out pretty good having.
Oh, next to that's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And initially I was hesitant about having, town committees and stuff, there, but I think that is good. Having them there, the comprehensive plan. I didn't go down to see everybody, but the fire departments were there, and I think that added quite a bit to it too. It might have brought more people. So, I don't know how you're gonna pass this one.
More vendors.
The whole.
The whole gym next year. I
Old
think
Jim.
I was amazed that we really filled that half
We
gym,
really
so
did,
I think, Aaron, I want to thank you for like getting the town, departments and committees on board as well, and getting FEMA there was just incredible.
It was.
Yeah, I think, like, I loved that we were able to help the town show what you're doing. And that's, related to the environment or climate change. I think that it's just so important to communicate with the town, really do. So that was super helpful.
Was there any feedback from FEMA? Were they satisfied with,
Yeah,
did they
I think
have
they
enough
said-
contacts or whatever?
I think they said at the event that they talked to several people. I'm not sure if they signed folks up. Cause it was such a short period of time between, the advertising and them coming, but, I know they had several conversations, so hopefully that led to at least a handful of people signing up for a disaster assistance.
Yeah, I think with the speaker series, I think, a goal should be trying to capture those, like on a video or,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think being part of the organizers within the vendors, like, couldn't go in to see the speeches.
Yeah.
And, I think that even if that's a way we could capture it and have a YouTube channel or something, then people could be,
Mhm.
other people could go there anytime, to get that information, but, like I heard Abigail speak at the environmental education conference a week later, and I was like, oh, I saw her speaking for a really long time and people seemed really engaged, and I was like, oh, now I understand, like,
Mhm.
she's like pretty phenomenal to listen to.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
That's a great idea.
but I can't even imagine if we had tried to do it all in the senior center, like,
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah.
Kind of told you, that's
I like to
Yeah.
say that it was well received. I heard a lot of nice things about it, from both town staff that participated in and, residents. I forget where it was. Oh, the campaign workshop. And, I just overheard a conversation by a couple people and they were just like, they were kind of talking about the Earth Day thing and they were really,
Well, that's great.
that was really positive feedback.
I'm really
And
glad.
they weren't even talking to me about it, they were just kind of talking to themselves about it, and it was nice to hear that. I think some of the things that maybe we could do is. Try and get more town involvement, I'd like to try and do that next year.
Mhm.
And then I think, maybe school involvement
Mhm.
and. And then I would like to do some more tactile stuff, like not just like. People walking around the room, but
Mhm.
maybe we can get some people that like. Like activities,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? I'm not sure what yet.
we haven't really talked about like there being like guided hikes on some of those trails and, yeah.
Or plant, like some flowers, like get the sunflowers,
Mm.
like actually plant them.
Mhm.
Try and get some labor out of them while we
Yeah.
Take the fence.
Um,
Take up the grass.
You wanna try this
Yeah.
battery powered weed
Yeah.
whacker?
Yeah, no, that is what a lot of other towns only do, is just do roadside trash pickup on that weekend.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think this was nicer now.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying replace one with the other, but,
Yeah.
added volunteers and the birds.
That could be.
Mhm.
For public service awesome, yeah.
That's a great idea.
That's nice.
Yeah, there's not really a opportunity throughout the year to have all those other town committees and groups have a chance to talk about what they're up to, so it's good to happen. So I mean,
I agree.
really, there's no other calendar day where there's any exposure. Sometimes at like Summerfest or something like that, so that's about it, really.
Mhm. Yeah, I did hear some feedback from people around town who really liked the educational components that they could go and learn, and they're like, they liked that, how that was distinguished from other town fests, where it's just sort of, a little more,
Yeah.
we had that little education component as part of it.
Yeah, I agree. Do we want to try to invite any of those speakers back to say, join one of our meetings? Maybe once a month we have a guest speaker, or once every few months we have a guest speaker come during our meeting, and we invite the town to come and listen to a speaker. It'd be good for our brand. I mean, it just sort of shows that we're involved all the time, not just one day a year.
Mm.
I like that idea a lot.
We could probably use the RPC meeting room if we wanted to take that off too, get a giant monitor.
Oh, yeah, that would
when
be
you
great.
run.
I'd like to try and use the town facility if possible, but I mean, I don't mind using the RPC, but see if we can reserve the senior center.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I've wondered about that too, and even, not even necessarily during our meetings, but like maybe at the library as well.
Right,
Do
oh,
a
yeah.
speaker series of some
That's a
sort,
great idea.
just to give people different options and give them another opportunity to hear the information.
Yeah. This is a little bit of just, I just don't know the history, in this town, in this committee, but, the Gulf Marine Research Institute, when I went to the environmental education, conference, they have this whole like workshop that they do, and it's mainly geared towards towns, but now they're gearing it towards like schools. And it's essentially just a simulation. So it's like and it's all around climate change, and there's the different cards. But has Wiscasset engaged in any, like, done that with them at all? Or, yeah, I think that could be super fun, like, for the town. But it's also, like, they're really working, like, they're kind of trying to turn it to sort of like a game for the kids. But it was originally meant for towns to really like engage in really starting to have these conversations of, you know, like planning forward and really thinking ahead about climate change and the, you know, rising sea levels and the impacts. But it's a really cool simulation. It's not too complicated, but it just opens that door to conversations and really thinking specifically about, like, we had a hard time because it's a group of people from all over the place, but like really talking about like your town and what does that specifically mean for your town?
That's great. That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
yeah, I think Cassie and I talked a little bit about this, but I really think that we really need. And I just had somebody in my office today that I had to shake my head after they left, but it was a climate change denier, but. Despite all the evidence of otherwise, you know, and he even agreed that there was evidence of it, but he didn't, whatever, but. So I think that there needs to be like definitely an education, and I think that that's what maybe some of these speaker series could be. To do is try and help with that.
Yeah, the effects and the causes. Yeah, that's a great idea. Love this idea.
And I think we would wanna do it to like not make it so higher brow, like, you know, academic.
Yeah.
I think we wanna make it a little bit almost like average Joe, you know,
100%.
yeah.
That's great. Okay, so I think we've got a great idea, and so tie into our discussion of things to do throughout this year. But also for next year, like, I think continuing to bring the speakers. Evan, I think you alluded to this, but planning farther ahead, I think, can help us with advertising, like marketing, advertising, just getting it on everybody's radar. So that they know, oh, okay, there's a great talk at 9:30 about home energy audits. I wanna go with that, and that way people know what's being offered at what times. And or even see, you know, if that makes sense, maybe the speaker series makes more sense, and then we just have tables and things at next year's event. There are different also it's a different option.
We'll have better signage next year too. We'll have more time. I mean, I think we did a great job with press, considering that we're brand new and how little time we had to do this. We got very good write-ups. We got good coverage. Your interview was fantastic. So more of that, but definitely we could think about signboards downtown, like the way that the garden club has their signs up for the plant sale. And, yeah, next year we can advertise a little bit better, try to get more people.
I wonder if there's a way to get the businesses involved,
Oh, yeah, that would be nice.
not sure how yet. But
Maybe they'd sponsor the activities, like
The
we
food.
Ooh, food trucks, yeah, we could
Or
get
like,
like
you
food
know,
trucks.
or donate money towards like the food table or.
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, I also don't, I mean, that's suggesting that we, every event, we, go ask them for a donation.
Mhm.
I think we'd want them to be like a willing participant, so like find it like an organic way for them to just even help them sell their brand,
Sure,
you know what I mean? I'm not sure what it would be,
that's a good idea.
but I'm not,
Yeah, I think definitely talking, there are a handful of businesses we could also reach out to way more and get lots of related businesses, but I think talking to local businesses about like, hey, you can talk to these vendors about, reducing your energy costs or being more green, like, and incorporating that into your brand, there's definitely all sorts of options there.
Could also be, I'm imagining that one of the speaker sessions could be aimed at businesses too, and what they can stand to gain from being incorporated in some.
Mhm.
It's a good idea.
I will say that probably half a dozen of people that I knew or kind of knew came up to me and told me about what they were gonna finally pull the trigger on for changes, so a couple people were like, yeah, they finally got to talk to a real human and not just read
Right.
literature online, so.
That's nice.
A lot of people were like, yeah, heat pump hot water heater, might pull the trigger finally on solar panels, looking at electric tools and junk, so.
That's great,
Quite a few people that said they were gonna do some sort of action, so that was good.
awesome.
Really good.
I love the e-bikes, I want one, I wish we had a way to get from downtown to Shaw's on trails, and we could get more people.
Just get a rail attachment, put it right on the train track and ride right over it.
Do that,
So as we blow up the fast bridge, we're going for it.
is that true? Fun idea.
That's just a tongue-in-cheek joke,
Yeah.
it's just blowing birds away.
I would say coming in off the street, someone not connected to the committee, I was just so amazed by what you guys did. I thought it was so wonderful. I mean, my expectations from, I shouldn't say this in front of Aaron, because he's new and I don't want to give him a bad feeling, but it's a good feeling actually, because I was gonna say, my expectations were low in terms of who would come, who would participate. And I just thought the quality of the speakers was amazing. And as someone's already pointed out, it was so valuable because it was sort of information you could apply to your life and answer questions that just have been floating around my head. And I felt that also the mix was so fun and sort of startling, that there were town committees and state organizations, and it was just really lively and fun. I had trouble because I wanted to hear every speaker, and I kept running, sort of running into the gym and wanting to run back, so I was thinking, how could, maybe the speakers could start a little later, or something so that
It's a
people
good
had time to
idea.
like mill around and maybe eat, and then go to speakers and not miss.
Yeah, we could make it more of an all-day thing and do the vendors in the morning and the speakers in the afternoon, so everybody can sit and just listen to all the folks they want to listen to.
That's a good idea.
There's a
I
lot
also had
of
that
great
same-
energy.
I also had that same dilemma, I had to be in with the speakers all day and then I ducked out right at the end just
So
to
you
see
can
the
peek into
tables.
Yeah, yeah, well, you guys were in charge, you kind of got shortchanged, but.
Gosh, if we do any better, guys, the Common Ground Fair is gonna move down here.
yeah.
It would be cool to get Maka to come,
Yep,
or, something like that, so we can have John and so like.
we got 330 days to build the
Let's
list.
do it. Let's ask
Come up
them.
with a new group of people.
Our reservation then at the,
Yeah, and I think there's a bunch of people like we
Community
reached
center.
out to who, couldn't in it, but we're definitely
They had
like,
more time, yeah.
we're definitely like, we'd like to do this next year. And so I think, building that timeline backwards out and then,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have time this year.
yeah.
It would be so cool to invite more, like, I wish we had some worm diggers that could actually demonstrate, what the worms look like, what it's all about. Somebody that has an oyster farm, maybe a lobster person.
Yeah.
To talk about what the rivers around here, how important they are for the economy.
Yeah.
I mean, even just a warmer, I mean, I'd love to hear somebody about that.
Me too.
But it is so good to have Warm Fest there, like to support
Yes,
them,
yes,
like, even though they posted that morning, but they didn't post about being at our event.
That's right.
I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to circle back to an idea in response to something you said, Evan, that, you said a few people said, I'm gonna pull the trigger on X, Y, and Z in response to this. Maybe we could think about creating a way where people could share, I went to this event and now I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get that electric mower, I'm gonna pick up trash, you don't have to be buying things, but just like one action they're gonna take.
That's
and
nice.
that could be like maybe where the Facebook page,
Yeah.
like, where we like try and
Mhm.
keep that like building.
Keep that going,
like-
that's a great idea.
Yes.
Yeah, that might be neat, like dialogue, like, what did you learn from the birthday fair, or what are you gonna do,
Oh, yeah.
like, from. Like,
Little
town
videos.
people, like, like, what are you gonna do,
Yeah, we could have had little videos, somebody would walk around with their phone and then we post them all on our Facebook page or our Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually, Erin, I sort of like that line, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
I think it's sort of like what we're all kind of wrestling with, you know?
yeah.
I don't know about the camera thing, putting the camera in somebody's face, that might. I don't
Make
know,
people shy.
shy, yeah, I know that would be me, but if you can go online and volunteer here,
Sure.
you
Mhm.
know.
Definitely different ways.
And just like sharing resources, like, yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
And we didn't have any after event publicity in the papers, I don't think.
We, yeah, well, the Wisconsin
Oh,
newspaper
that's right,
came
the
and took the
Wisconsin,
video.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that's, that was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One other thing that just came to mind that maybe we can consider adding is some kind of, household hazardous waste, like take back thing to tag.
Love that answer.
Yeah.
Trick them with a place to dump their stuff and then see what
Yeah.
else is going on, cause those things are always like a once a year thing. and
Yeah.
Take back the paint and stain and
Also, I
motor
take
oil or
all
whatever.
electronics.
Well, those are kind of expensive.
Yeah, they are.
Those sort of days, like hosting a day like that is expensive.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
very expensive,
Cause you gotta take it wherever, but
yeah.
you have to hire.
maybe we get all the other little towns to contribute and they also get to bring in their stuff. Somebody was just in West.
Still, it's
talking
very
about it.
expensive,
Yeah,
trust me.
yeah, well, it's a lot better than dumping it in the ditch and
Well, no,
that's what you're
no,
paying,
no.
that's what you're not paying for.
I
That's where,
get
you
it,
know,
I get
I'll
it.
take you right out to the dump sites that we're not paying for.
And
What do we do currently? Do people bring their old, they just put?
Throw it in a trash bag and then throw it in the hopper,
That's
one at a time, slowly, that's what they do.
Well,
You
I
got
think,
some, Aim Supply will take some stuff,
Yeah, they want.
yeah.
well, I think the town is supposed to offer one a year.
I have no
I've
idea,
never seen us do that.
I haven't seen it.
yeah, we don't have to,
Well, 5 years ago, Lincoln County Transfer Station had, they just were bringing in electronics.
yes.
Yeah.
I believe how much was.
Yep,
Yeah.
I bet.
That would be,
Unbelievable.
yeah,
That
you
would be
can tag
better.
team household hazardous waste, electronics and prescription drug on the same day.
oh, yeah.
Oh, then,
Cause the prescription drug thing is
Yeah,
out here in the building.
yeah,
The
Yeah.
police department would probably do
yeah,
that.
they've got them all over the place, but people always, they
Yeah.
don't know about them and they.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do that with, at the transfer station on a different day than Earth Day, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
I will make sure I've heard from everybody. Pat, I remember at the event, you had a couple suggestions, like announcing speakers as they're happening. Maybe, we
Yeah.
didn't have a PA system and,
get a bullhorn.
yeah. And
And
you were
organized
doing
it.
great work running around getting
Yeah.
people ready with the speakers.
No, a couple thoughts. One was, you could do like speaker handouts. So everyone has one as they're walking in, right? That's one idea. Posting the speakers in the list of speakers, what they're talking about, in the room.
Well, that's a good thought.
You know, I mean, that way, oh yeah, well, let's see that. And not just one spot, maybe a couple spots. So you, no matter what direction you look, you can kind of see it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if we can get Dwayne to put in a PA system, that would be really good.
Well, and that's where like, even if we consider like, if if it's like a different venue, if like we're able to be in like the auditorium, school or something like that.
Yeah.
And they would have
PA system.
somebody to do the like, in 2 minutes, the talk
Exactly.
on whatever is starting.
Yeah, that
that's
would have made a
great.
big difference. Because, I discovered my voice does not carry like maybe it used to. I have my own wife and kids. And I couldn't scream any longer, so, and running around, that's awkward because people are engaged in conversation, but interrupt them, that's, it
It's disturbing.
is disturbing, so those are my suggestions.
Okay,
And what else thing we got feedback from, while I was there, from Energy Maine, what they thought, and the guy that was there said that if you let that to a lot of these guys. did
oh yeah,
really good.
efficiency main and the efficiency.
Our efficiency main,
Yeah.
I'm new to Maine, I'm still learning, but yeah, efficiency main, so, I thought that was pretty good.
That is good.
That
Yeah,
is
because you took a lot of these shows,
Yeah, maybe as a follow-up, we could send another, we did send an invitation for feedback from the vendors. We could also just even set up a little survey or something if they wanted to.
A survey is a great idea. We
Mhm.
should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like, do we send thank you notes? Like, that's like a little old
Yeah.
school, but,
Sent a little, we sent it,
right, yeah.
Mhm.
but a follow-up would be good.
Yeah. Plus a tag team with next year with what Pat's saying with the little brochure with the schedule on it, and thank you to the vendors on the back, well,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
so you can remember who the heck you talked to, it wasn't Energy Man, it was efficiency. So you remember what the name is.
And I got free
I mean-
weekends from my.
Yeah.
We all went back and forth,
Yeah, yeah.
efficiency.
Yeah.
Well, it might not even be worthwhile, like, if you had like a little brochure that had even just each of the vendors like contact information, so that, like, if people go home and say, what was that person I talked to?
Mm.
What was their number? I mean, I know a lot of them had their own stuff, but
Yeah.
Do we have any grants we can apply for that would help fund the next event and pay for the marketing and the materials? All this stuff, because this is very homespun, we use our own printers and our own paper and all of that stuff, but it'd be nice if we had a budget.
That's a great question. I don't know of any off the top of my head, but we can ask.
okay, we can look around.
Yeah, we can ask, the governor's office folks who like support the community resilience partnership towns.
Okay.
If we know of any. Also, there are local philanthropic organizations.
That's true.
We could pitch it to them.
Yeah, Ames is usually very good about donating money to local stuff. Maybe they would want to, and we could have table, their little chicks or something.
You could also do sponsorships.
Yep.
At different levels, so if they sponsor, get the businesses involved, sponsor at a level up here, for instance, a level gold level or whatever. Then they get their name blasted on whatever we're advertising.
I think that would be dope for like the bigger outfits, like Revision Energy, like Efficiency Maine and like Johnson Controls.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to like chase down like, some local business.
That's true, they always get houses, don't they?
They do.
Yeah,
Or you might be able to get the bank.
yeah, the bank, yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. That's
And you just have, you were talking about having a list of people and stuff, you can have the back page being the advertising.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mhm.
Then print it out.
Yeah, sponsorships would help us do those materials for sure. Great idea. I'll say the one thing that didn't work was our trying to pull together an electric vehicle ride and drive. Is very hard in a short period of time. There is another opportunity to try to do that in September during National Drive Electric Week, which has a little bit more visibility. We could start planning something like that now. I'm very interested in trying to do that. Is anybody else interested in trying to organize like an official, EV ride and drive? It's a great way to get people behind the wheel of an EV, talk to real owners. if we start now, we could probably chase down dealerships, like I was at the Bill Dodge Hyundai last week, getting my EV serviced, and it's like, whose card do I need? Like,
Yeah.
and they gave that person's card to me, so I know who to hound now.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I feel like Jan knocked on a lot of doors and there was very little interest. It was a big heavy lift for her.
It was a heavy lift, so I think engaging more of us and starting further ahead might help, because I know that they do them at Bill Dodge. They told me they just did one last year, so they're not opposed to it. I think it just takes a little bit more time and planning.
Okay.
So general interest, yes? No?
I'll just say that September can be tough,
Mhm.
just in general. So, here nor there, but
Good to know.
people book up pretty solid on September.
Well, one thing that I was kind of thinking about,
Mhm.
maybe get the kids involved is have a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's a cute idea. I love
Can you
that.
say that again?
A scavenger hunt.
Oh,
For the
scavenger.
kids and stuff.
It's really cute.
Telling you guys, Common Ground Fair is gonna come down here, we're gonna beat the hell out of it.
I hope so.
We'll start selling camping space out in the woods, stay the whole weekend.
Music.
I mean, it's
They
prime
could
kick
bring
season.
their kayaks.
Great.
Sky's the limit.
And do we have, I was just wondering about like having like digital copies or like copies of of the recording that was done on the event to hold on to,
I
like
haven't
to
saved them. That's a great idea.
kind of just having the files in terms of even thinking about like, you know, taking a clip to like advertise for next year or just to kind of having those like in a place to use for.
Yeah, getting on early with Lincoln County Television and see if they'll just come and
Yeah.
cover it.
Maybe we can see if we can get that, I think the town has a YouTube channel. And look into that.
Oh, we do, don't we?
Yeah, maybe we can put those on the YouTube.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. Good idea. Great. Okay, I think I'm gonna move us on in our agenda. This is all helpful. We captured all of it.
Everybody,
Yeah.
Yes.
Pound back.
Good job.
I'd be
Great
happy to
job.
do the fantastic
Yeah.
Huge
stuff.
lift.
Definitely.
I'm so proud of this committee. That was incredible.
We get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much to our volunteers for helping.
We definitely have to try to get treats to sponsor us since we gave us.
I agree. That's true. We did, thank you Treats for hosting a lot of informal meetings.
Yeah.
And just kind of shout out, there's still openings on WCAT, if anyone wants to join, as a volunteer. Okay. So, next on the agenda is, discussion of our collaboration with the Comprehensive Plan Committee. I wanted to share, some preliminary results from the May 11th public workshop, which I saw at least one member here, attended. But it was a well-attended workshop, I would say maybe 40-ish people, is that right, Erin?
That's about right.
Yeah. People came, there were a couple of different exercises where people could put green, yellow, or red, dots on statements that they either agree, disagree, or were unsure about. We had a statement about climate change, there that got, I think it was all green and one yellow, unsure. So really strong agreement that the town should be taking action on climate change, both sort of resilience and mitigation actions
It's great news.
to reduce emissions. So really happy to see that. People also had planner bucks, sort of fake money, that they could put in different buckets. It's kind of a values exercise to get a sense of where people would prioritize a little more attention in comprehensive plan and potentially for town actions in the future. So there were 9 buckets, and climate initiatives were 6 out of 9. People got $1,500 that they could spend between all of the buckets. Our bucket got $3,937, for planner bucks. But I think in the discussion afterward, we really heard that climate change is a very comprehensive issue. It's a linchpin issue that appears in all of the different chapters of the comprehensive plan. People were concerned about how much things will cost. It's expensive to address climate change, but it's also expensive to experience climate change, it's more expensive. People were very concerned about the winter storms. The winter storms were really a wake-up call for a lot of folks. And people are excited about cleaner air, having more comfortable homes from weatherizing, economic opportunities and addressing climate change as well. So I would say it came up in every chapter, and I wasn't the only person bringing it up in every chapter, other people were too.
Oh, you were the preeminent reminder, which was great.
Trying, but I think it sounded like, and maybe you could reflect as well as a member of the comprehensive plan committee on how you thought that workshop went and the discussions.
I thought it went well. I'm not sure there were 40 people there, but I did, think it was useful. I've been kind of struggling in my comprehensive plan work because it's so different than what it's been in the past, when there was a much stronger state planning office and comprehensive plans actually played a much more active role in towns and had some teeth in terms of getting funding. There was a reason for it, and I directly asked Sarah and Pam Dunning, who's a selectman, and who else, maybe Aaron, why are we doing this now? And it was discouraging to me because they were saying, I said, doesn't the town need this to leverage some grants? Not anymore, they said, not anymore. It's more like a visioning session, which I thought was really sad, because in the past, the thinking and participation of my townspeople in comprehensive planning has been really fascinating, to me anyway, and exciting, and there's been a lot of commitment to gathering evidence and inventorying of all the resources in the town, and it's just very different now. So I'm trying to change my sort of expectations of what the work involves, but I was really happy. People seemed upbeat to be there, and the actual little extra of the planning box, which I'm skeptical about things like that, but people seemed to really enjoy it, and it was making people stop and say, I don't know whether I can put this into transformation or historic preservation.
Yeah, it's good to get people out of their seats, same thing.
Get them up and talking to each other, which I also thought was really great. And Cassie just did an excellent job, as we sort of debriefed these games, of reminding people of what she's saying, how comprehensive climate change impacts are and how they intersect with everything really. So there are gonna be more of these, and hopefully different people will come. And we'll get different inputs from them on different topics. When you're done debriefing May 11th, I just also wanted to talk about comprehensive plan work in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any quick questions about May 11th?
What were the top 3 buckets? Like, what were the top winners?
Well, education was the big one, I believe.
Yeah.
Education, was that the top one?
Education, yeah, it's education, then public facilities, and then people in place.
Yeah.
People in place was like affordable housing, childcare, like stuff like that.
Yeah, so elder services.
Services, yeah. Let's see, couple of notes that I have, people are concerned about deferred maintenance and spending more where needed on public facilities and services. People are concerned about long-term growth of the town, and attracting young families, so sort of opening families, for strengthening education to attract young families and grow the town, not have long-term decline.
Do you, in terms of like,
Can I think too about the grant though, like, that, when Emily said that, the response,
Which,
I actually kind of didn't agree with that entirely.
which
Oh,
one?
that's interesting. The point about not, that towns don't need a comprehensive plan to apply for some of these grants.
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
Emily was-
I think maybe they don't need it as much, but maybe, but I do think that I think a lot of the grants, they do ask for it, and it helps in the scoring of the grants.
That's a good point, Aaron.
And,
And that's kind of what she alluded to, she was saying like, if you do have it in your comp plan, then it's bonus.
It's like a little.
And-
patch.
So now it's like, put everything on your wish list, because there's no point in forgetting.
Pulling
anything.
back.
but
right?
like,
Yeah.
but if you have like
Yeah.
things like that you think that are important in your inventory of assets and things that you think that are priorities for the community, you really should put that in your comprehensive plan, because one of the things that when I apply for grants, you could go take like literally a paragraph or like a sentence out of that comp plan and then quote yourself in the grant.
application.
Yeah, and use that and say, well, the comp plan did this and said this, so it basically holds a lot of weight because
That's
the
great to
town
hear.
votes on it.
So there still is a point you think too, I mean, it's
Yeah.
beneficial to the town.
I've also heard that about federal grants as well, and I think like any outside opportunity, just having a demonstration of the town's values. And if things are exciting is always helpful.
I
Yeah,
mean, it was sort of the basis for us being able to apply for a community action grant. We had to have public meetings.
that's
and
true,
get
you asked for
feedback.
that, yeah.
So it does seem to be pretty important to have public involved in any of these programs.
The other thing that she had mentioned though, which I was surprised that the reason why you have a comprehensive plan is it's in order to have zoning.
Mm.
Which I was surprised at, I mean, so if you have an active, you have to have a comprehensive plan. And, to basically, to have zoning, and it has to basically, what's the word I'm looking for,
Sure.
align the values.
Yeah.
Your zoning ordinance has to align the same values of your comprehensive plan, so.
I feel all cheered up now.
Yay.
Thank you, Erin.
We're important,
Yeah.
No, I believe so much in the participatory aspect of it, and I just know, Marty and I from past, the more you learn about your town, the more invested you are in its success. And so I see it as an incredibly wonderful
Well,
town exercise, and
well, see-
I just was sad that.
I think, I agree with you that I think that some of the division in the town is there's a sense that people aren't listening to them, like the town fathers
Yeah.
and like really the school board essentially. I mean, I'm not gonna get into the weeds about this, but in essence, that's why you have these public processes
Yeah,
where you have community engagement.
yeah.
And I think that if you put these processes in place, then people have a sense that you're listening to them
Yeah,
and things run smoother.
and it's not, I mean, it's not opposed, I think it's a real process, you know, it's a valid and important process.
And you have to do it like with a certain amount of genuineness, like I think residents see, if you're just doing the bare minimum through the public process setup. Like if you're just, oh, okay, we're just gonna hold this public hearing just because we have to do the public hearing. If you're doing it like really, like because we really want to like hear from you,
Yeah,
and I think this was a good example of that.
yeah, good.
So anyways, but we need to like, I think some public officials here. Oh wait, I'll shut up.
There you go.
Um,
Wait until the Zoom says stop.
Okay, great. So Anne, I know that you had joined us specifically today to talk a little bit more about the natural resources part of the comprehensive plan as well. And so I'd love to hear from you for a few minutes.
Just for a minute, yeah, no, I really appreciate the chance to come because there's a pretty small group working on the comprehensive plan. And I am the only person on the natural resources section. And I actually am also serving in the historic preservation section, and that has preoccupied me for sort of the past year, but I did, before Sarah took over, I did complete an agriculture, ag lands and forest lands section. And this was really renewing, the first step in our planning process is to renew the inventories that have been done in the past. So I did that about 2 years ago, so I'm probably out of date, but nobody has done that yet for the whole rest of the natural resources section, which includes marine resources, groundwater, you know, wetlands. I mean, it's habitat, all these really important things. And I just realized that you guys know a lot. And when I'm gonna start tackling it, want to make sure that, climate change is reflected in all those subsections. So I was trying to figure out whether, you know, I should just bumble along and then present my draft inventory to your committee and have you say, you know, this isn't good enough, you need to do that here, or say this there. I mean, it would be amazing to have your expertise as a lens, you know, in that section. And I also don't know anything about marine resources and groundwater and soils and things like that, and I don't know if you know of anybody, or if you have knowledge or recommendations about how to get information about some of those sections that I don't have any knowledge of.
Yeah.
We have alignment with Knox and Lincoln County Soil and Water Conservation.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if that might be helpful.
yes, and we do have an amazing, do you know that Beginning with Habitat program? Do you know that?
I'm familiar with
Yeah,
that,
it's
yeah.
an amazing sort of quasi, it's
They're
private
within-
and public partnership.
Yeah.
They create these huge maps of any town, they're free.
Hmm.
And I've used them in the past, and I will definitely start there because they have some baseline great information about soils and groundwaters like that, and
Yeah.
that's where I'll begin. So I'm guessing, I mean, unless anyone wants to join another committee, I'm very attracted to your committee, but I feel I'm obliged right now to, you know, sort of trudge along on that.
We'll hold the spot.
Yes, we will.
We'll hold the
spot for you.
So,
I was just gonna say really quick, I would be happy to connect you with resources on marine resources, soils, groundwater. The geological survey
Yes.
has a lot of these data. And then Department of Marine Resources as well has a lot of great information.
Yeah, that's great, Cassie. I think I'm gonna start, because it's been so long since I've looked at it, with the beginning, seeing what Beginning with Habitat has to offer. And I will definitely bark up your tree if I feel like I've hit roadblocks. And I also, you know, it will probably be quite a while before I get a draft inventory together, but I'd love to be able to share that with you guys so that you can give input, because you're much more knowledgeable than I am on climate change.
Don't assume.
Right?
Don't assume we're more. I mean, Cassie is very well connected.
Yeah, well, you might even, you know, there are things I will miss because so far it's just me.
Yeah.
So just having other townspeople think about,
Yeah,
you know, natural resources
Be
in
a thought
that
leader.
framework would be so valuable.
Westport Island just did a full island-wide groundwater
Wow.
study, but I'm pretty sure it's part of their coastal, or whatever we are, community resilience partnership.
Yes, yes, they got a community action grant for that.
I can link you up with the people that are running that if you want.
And could the grant that we got to do the survey?
It wouldn't be within that, but it might help inform some of the, immediate waterfront vulnerability. Anne, are you familiar with the Lincoln County Sea Level Rise Assessment? It was done in 2015, 2016.
Say that again, Lincoln County,
Sea Level Rise Assessment.
no.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Planning and Conservation District, and the Maine Geological Survey undertook that. It is several years old now, but it's probably the most recent data we have.
Yeah, that would be an amazing thing to look at and reference. That's great.
Mhm. Karen,
I
yeah,
was just gonna say, I already reached out to the Vienna Habitat people. And they've offered to come down and like give a presentation.
Yeah, they're great too.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, if we wanted to set that up,
Yeah.
so. And they apparently said that they sent maps down here.
Yeah, we should have maps. I'm gonna see if they're, I remember the town of Wisconsin had beginning with habitat maps a couple of years ago. And I don't know how often they're updated, but, I'm gonna check and see whether in all Sarah Whitfield's links, that those maps might be in there, Aaron.
Okay.
And I will let you know.
Okay, so if you guys want me to like, arrange that meeting, then if maybe get, you know, dig the maps, I can do that,
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Excuse me. Well,
Bless you.
great. Okay,
Thanks a lot.
so it sounds like we can be helpful with some data for the natural resources section, and happy to have you back and be a thought partner.
Thank you. I
Talking
appreciate
through that section, as well as any of the other many chapters of the comprehensive plan.
it. Yes, they quite a few.
So Anne and Marty started the first conservation committee here in town, didn't you? Weren't you guys the?
I did.
joined her.
Okay.
But it definitely fizzled. But we did do some things. We got that elm tree planted. We made a walking trails in Wiscasset handbook that's being rethought now with this great new trails committee that's going on. Marty and I did the street light inventory. That was fun.
Good
A
work.
lot of driving around. But he followed up on that. Yeah, that fell out of comprehensive plan, like the Historic Preservation Commission.
Yeah.
So, I think that's interesting too, but I don't, even though both of those have failed to date, I don't think that's wasted. I think that you just keep building and building on those, on that work.
And had an idea off of Bradford, there's a trail that goes up towards the dam. And that's never was developed, but I guess there's some parking spaces and.
Yeah, that, we lost a town planner
Something
at that
You
time.
could do with trails.
Yeah, the town owns this property around the holding. The water that was being held for, oh God, I thought this for so long.
Montfrey Road.
Monsweek Brook, and it was a holding tank water to be used, I think at Mason Station in a fire.
Wow.
And it's a beautiful spot. And we have talked about getting, trails established there.
Yeah.
And it's very beautiful, but I couldn't get it done.
Hmm.
We did lose a planner at that time and then I couldn't keep moving.
Yeah,
The committee.
I think I'm gonna keep us moving. Sorry, we have a few minutes left.
That's fine, Aaron, I should talk to you about that.
Here.
yeah,
Okay, thank you. So, generally good feelings about continuing to collaborate. And I think, we'd love to hear more and maybe at our future meeting about, if there is, energy to do a climate focus workshop for the comprehensive plan.
Good idea.
Start thinking through that. I wanna give some time, I think this is the last update we'll have in this meeting, and then we'll talk about our next agenda about the waterfront resilience project that we have applied for the community action grant for, and then Leslie, a small update on the plan presentation to the select board. So I believe I shared this in the last meeting, but just as a reminder, we had submitted the community action grant application and a letter of intent for a coastal communities planning grant. Our letter of intent was not invited to move forward to a whole grant application. So we are still waiting to hear on the community action grant. if past behavior by the governor's office is any indication, they will probably announce those grants at the mid-June Maine Climate Council meeting. So I expect we will probably not hear until mid-June. There is some work that we should probably start doing, preparing, talking with vendors, and things to prepare in the event that we are awarded this. But we also need to look into further, additional funding. However, you might recall that as part of that grant, we had proposed to set aside a little bit of funding to work with Knox, Lincoln County Soil and Water Conservation District to apply for a Maine Natural Resources Conservation Program grant, or submitting a letter of intent for that grant program, which would apply to the Pleasant Street extension. So now I'm gonna turn it over to Leslie for a very
Very
2-minute
brief. Okay,
update on
so
next steps.
we had an hour-long call yesterday, Cassie, Aaron and I, to talk about how to move forward to discuss with the select board where we are with that project and the direction that it's sort of evolving towards. Because it was at least a year ago that I went before the select board to, to bring up this idea that we naturalize the Pleasant Street extension, close it off to traffic and just plant it into like a little park. Because there had been another community that was trying to turn it into a parking lot so they could build footbridges afterwards. And so, then some of the neighbors and I were horrified to think that they would be adding more fill and hard surface to an already very challenged wetland area. So the select board liked the idea. We had another select board meeting and invited public comment. We got the green light to proceed, in meeting with various members of state organizations, Department of Environmental Protection, Army Corps of Engineers, soil, Knox and Lincoln County Soil and Water, Maine wetland scientists, etc. All of them all believed, and they all came out and did a site visit. They said, to a person, we do not recommend that you plant anything here. We would like to see you guys, and we think you could find funding for scraping it down to grade and letting nature just take care of it by itself. Don't plant anything, scrape it down, get rid of all that gravel, all the rock, take it back down to where it had originally been, let nature take its course. So that might not fly as nicely as this idea of turning it into a walking destination, but it is the direction that all of the organizations and the experts are suggesting we go. So Aaron said he was going to talk to Ted to get an idea of what something like that might cost. And if we can get buy-in from the select board, we want to draft a letter of intent and still apply for the grant. And if we get the grant, that would be sort of phase one, our vision of naturalizing, improving the cove and creating a more nature-based solution that might act more as a sponge during high tides and severe storms. What did I leave out, Cass?
I think you covered most of it. I think my additions to that discussion are that, or I think the framing we're circling around is that pursuing funding to remove the extension, should the select board, approve that course of action, would then lay the groundwork for, not planting there, but maybe planting around the edge of the basin, maybe thinking more about
non-invasive
forestry, removing these invasive species. That's sort of a nature-based solution, even wetland restoration and the return on investment for nature-based solutions like that to increase resilience to flooding and erosion is like, it will be 6-to-1, if not more. So there's a real potential to improve resilience and maybe mitigate some of the erosion issues from coming off Tower Hill. I'm speculating wildly on that one specifically, but I think that this could be like a good first step to that particular area being a little bit more resilient to flooding and erosion. But certainly the intention is to present this information to the select board to request their buy-in, to work with Knox-Lincoln County Soil Conservation District to submit that letter of intent to this grant program.
Mhm.
And you had heard from the grant program, right, that they think
Yes.
this is a really
They
good
thought it was a good
candidate, a good fit for that grant program. So should the town elect to do that, yeah, so we'll have to, we are tentatively, I think, on the agenda at the June 4th
Mhm.
select board meeting, so it's coming right up.
Right.
And we have to
have
submit
have it.
materials next week.
Mhm.
This, I'm talking about eliminating that section of Fourth Street because it was flooding.
It's a separate conversation, I think, from the Pleasant Street extension at this point.
Conversation, we don't wanna get people too riled up all at once.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, I think keeping
But
it
it was
very
mentioned.
focused
It
on
was mentioned somewhere.
Pleasant Street. Yeah, I think in our wider waterfront resilience,
Another 10 years.
grant proposal, we were thinking about the entire, like the entirety of the waterfront. From 4th Street all the way to the Creamery Pier. But that's probably something, the future of 4th Street will be something we tackle, like we did the community action grant and do all the community engagement.
Yeah,
Then we could talk about that.
it would be amazing.
Instead of costing money, couldn't you sell, Bill? Wouldn't people be interested in just taking it?
I don't know if it's worth that.
Could be contaminated.
Not that much, no.
No,
I don't know.
yeah. Thank you.
You're
So,
welcome.
so this
Thank
is, we'll be submitting some information. I think this is it's like a semi-independent project of this committee. It's your project that you wanted to do.
Well, it's, you know, it's a town's project, but I just want to spearheading it for a year. And glad to be working under these auspices and glad to have you guys engaged. It's really helpful.
Yeah,
Can I mention something quickly about the waterfront?
sure. And then we gotta wrap up.
I did mention it, at the, before the meeting started. And on the agenda for the, select board meeting yesterday was a memorial bench discussion, by Peter Wells, and I guess they said the waterfront committee supported it, and they were putting in a green area and a bench for $10,000. And they're gonna be funding it by donation, but, he said that, oh, well, if it floods, we could always, it'll be designed so we could raise it. Well, that's gonna cost a lot of money to,
You can't do that, and you'd have to get approval from, it's wetlands right there.
so, anyway, the board approved it.
Sorry,
And
where was it they were proposing?
it was down near the, it's down near the field, I think.
The municipal?
I'm not sure exactly where, but he had a whole design.
But that
Peter Wells.
is gonna get all torn up when they go to repair the piers and stuff. I just don't
Yeah, I know,
understand.
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, in the context of, we haven't done the actual vulnerability design or resilience system yet.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Seems
how we bring
preliminary.
that up to, Dennis, the select board voted for it, but Dennis said he wanted to check with, his road agent to see if there'd be any problems. Well,
Sure.
there's gonna be a problem environmentally because it's gonna cost money to.
Yeah, I would say it sounds like, you know,
Probably need a.
the waterfront resilience project hasn't happened yet, and that will probably impact that entire area if it's raised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't put any fill near the wetlands without approval from DEP and Army Corps. If it gets flooded, whatever they plant there's going to die because that's salt water, salt and fresh mix. So it
I
does.
think all they'll need there is probably just a permit by rule, because that's my guess.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, thank you, Marty.
So I don't know how we prevent that from happening because they approved it.
I'm not sure it's our place to prevent
Yeah,
it from
right.
happening.
Right.
We can just say, you know, there is this waterfront resilience project that we're hopefully getting the grant for, and that would probably dictate what happens to this area. So
I know
it seems like a,
this, I understand that.
I think we need better communication with the waterfront committee too. I think we need
Yeah.
to figure out a way to be more aligned with them.
Supposedly the waterfront committee approved it, which
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
yeah, I think the waterfront committee, we probably need to do more education
We
on
really
sea level
do.
rise.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a lot of understanding of what that means.
Right. I know you're trying to wrap up, and I just had one other thing I wanted to add as a possibility and maybe for a subcommittee, and that is the idea of building an osprey nesting platform somewhere downtown, only because when we had the Virginia here, there was a pair of nesting ospreys that kept trying to build a nest in a crow's nest of the Virginia. And they had to first knock the nest down, it wasn't active yet. They knocked it down, they put up a flag, the ospreys came back, built a netting unit. They knocked that one down, put up netting, the ospreys were pushing sticks in through the netting to the crow's nest.
Mhm.
And it made us think like, we should put up, it'd be really fun with a camera, and we can have a website. I got plans from CMP. Anyway, it's just something to think about for the next meeting, if anybody's interested in. We don't have.
I'm generally supportive, I just question the, the scope or the relationship to this
That's okay.
committee specifically.
Got it. That's okay.
Yeah. But I do not want to discourage this conversation happening in our town.
Could be fun.
Okay. Thank you all. We are at 7:09, so we're gonna adjourn. And I will reflect items for our next discussion and move any items we didn't get to the next meetings, fourth Wednesday in June. Thank you all.
Yeah. Nice. See, it's like.